So, I watched Star Wars Return of the Jedi. However, I did not watch the Blu-ray or DVD of Star Wars Return of the Jedi. I watched the Harmy Despecialized edition. So what that means is that the version I watched is the theatrical version of Star Wars that was updated to Blu-ray quality for film preservation. This was done by a gentleman by the name of Petr Harmy, or Harmy is short for Hammercheck, but he goes by Harmy, so I'm just going to call him Harmy. And I'm going to do this review, breaking it into two halves. I'm going to first review the Harmy Despecialized edition, and then I'm just going to talk about my thoughts on Return of the Jedi. How does it hold up to today's standards? The one thing that I appreciate about the Harmy Despecialized editions is I really got to appreciate the craftsmanship behind the original trilogy. As Star Wars went on, when we see the prequels or when we see the Disney sequels of Star Wars, they have so much visual effects that were done on a computer. Now I don't have a vendetta against computer-generated effects, but personally, I've tried making low-budget films and stuff like that, so I had to get a little creative in how I would use the camera, how I would use special effects, and I can see that craftsmanship in the original trilogy when it comes to the Despecialized editions. So a lot of the time, George Lucas, in the 90s, he would touch up a few things, add some better visual effects, some CG, stuff like that. But back in the original trilogy, back in the 70s and 80s, I got to appreciate a lot of stuff like rear projections and stuff like practical effects, costumes, makeup, design like that. And it really helped me gain a new appreciation for Star Wars. I grew up with these special editions. I'm young enough so that I never saw the original theatrical versions of Star Wars. And I do think that the Despecialized editions is the definitive version of Star Wars that you should watch. Even though it's a fan-made film, I think that there is no need to watch the special editions. This is the way to go. Now, I do believe that both of them can live side by side. I do appreciate some of the changes that come with the special editions, and there's some things that I do prefer in the Despecialized editions. So like I said, in the Despecialized editions, I like just seeing the map paintings. The map paintings in this movie are beautiful. However, they were scrapped in the George Lucas special editions so that they would use bigger, more grandiose CG environments. But I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a doodler at heart. I like drawing and stuff like that. But some of the map paintings in the original theatrical release of Star Wars Return of the Jedi is quite a marvel to look at. And even if it looks fake, it's still a beautiful thing. I remember when I watched The Wizard of Oz when I was a kid, and when they first arrive at Emerald City, and we see that beautiful map painting of Emerald City, even when I was a kid and I saw Wizard of Oz for the first time, I was like, yeah, that's obviously not really there. It's obviously just painted on a wall. But it was just such a beautiful painting that I got to still feel some awe and some amazement. And that applies to this movie as well. Even shots that are simple. There's a shot where we just see the Millennium Falcon for the first time in this film, and that was done with a map painting. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so beautiful. And I feel like when George Lucas updated everything, it was kind of a slap in the face to those people who did do those original visual effects. The one big slap in the face is that he redid the voice of Boba Fett.
He's no good to me dead. He's no good to me dead.
So if you're the actor who did the original voice of Boba Fett, I think he passed away recently, but yeah, his presence in the film is no longer there. You can no longer see the original Boba Fett in the original Star Wars film, which is kind of sucks, you know? Imagine you get to be in a Star Wars movie and you're all hyped, and then you learn 10 years later, yeah, your services are no longer required. We got a different Boba Fett to do the voice. I would have taken George Lucas by the shirt, by the flannel shirt, and I would have maybe slapped him across the face a couple of times. I would have had some salty feelings right there. But I'm a bit of a dick, so I'm like that. So yeah, if you haven't seen the Harmy Despecialized edition, I suggest you do so. And quick announcement for this channel, by the way. Mr. Harmy, Petr Harmy, has agreed to join me in the garage. So I interviewed him. This is all pre-recorded. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. So yeah, I interviewed Petr Harmy, and we had a really good conversation. So that's coming up soon. We're still editing that one. I'm just going to talk about Star Wars Return of the Jedi for a bit. So, for those of you who don't know what Star Wars Return of the Jedi is all about, it follows Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Chewbacca as they try to defeat the Empire once and for all. Alright, we all know the story of Return of the Jedi. How does it hold up? Well, I feel like when it first came out, it got beautiful acclaim. It was the perfect ending to a trilogy. And as time went on, people kind of start to notice the flaws in Return of the Jedi. I really like Return of the Jedi. I don't think it's as good as New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. I think Empire Strikes Back is hands down the best of the three, or the best Star Wars movie for that matter. But I feel like there's been like some backlash online against Return of the Jedi being like overhyped or something like that. And I think Return of the Jedi is still a pretty solid film. I would even say it's a fun, epic conclusion to the trilogy. There are some scenes that are kind of cringe, that haven't aged well. Scenes of lazy screenwriting. I can see that, but to me the pros outweigh the cons. One of the things people complain about nowadays are the Ewoks. I just rewatched the film, and I've seen this movie multiple times. I never had a problem with the Ewoks. The main problem I have with the Ewoks is that they take on the stormtroopers way too easily. So it's this whole running joke that the stormtroopers are lousy, they can't do shit, they can't even shoot straight. And in this movie, it's no exception. The Ewoks, they just throw a rock on the helmet of the stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers get like a concussion and they go into a coma. They're very weak in this movie, the stormtroopers. But other than that, I don't have a problem with the Ewoks. To be honest, like, I know George Lucas does a lot of lame attempts at humor. I think it kind of works with the Ewoks. I like how they take down the Empire with, like, more booby traps and stuff like that. But it kind of feels weird. Like, had that battle between the stormtroopers and the Ewoks occurred on the Ewoks' home turf, I would have bought it a bit more. The only thing is that they're invading the stormtroopers' home turf, and they're still kicking the asses of the stormtroopers, so it's kind of hard to buy in that way. But, yeah, people say they're too goofy, they're too cute. I never saw them as cute. They're kind of fucking vicious and gross, and, there's that one Ewok who's always like, I always liked that one Ewok who did that. I don't know why. I always thought as a kid that was a funny little random thing that was in the movie. Like, why is that one Ewok singing like that? I really like the beginning of this movie and the end of this movie. The middle kind of sags in between. So I love the beginning where they go to Jabba's palace, and Jabba is like basically this fat mafioso dude, and he's like, Misa Frappa Niba, Jedi scum. That's him dying. I like that whole stuff, and maybe it's because I'm a fan of puppetry and stuff like that, and it really was a good callback to the Mos Eisley Cantina in Star Wars A New Hope. I liked that whole shit, and it kind of felt like a prison escape kind of moment, and it went back to what Star Wars is, just a series of fun little serials, little adventures between these characters that we really like. I thought the beginning of this movie is very effective. Where the movie slows down is as soon as Yoda dies. As soon as he dies, there's a huge slowdown in the film. The one scene I would cut completely from this film is the scene where we see Obi-Wan as a ghost. First of all, we saw Obi-Wan as a ghost back in episode 5, so, like, the shock is no longer there. And had you cut out the scene where he's a ghost, the ending where we see Obi-Wan with Darth Vader and Yoda would have been a little better. But that scene with Obi-Wan is probably the laziest screenwriting ever. So in that one scene where Obi-Wan appears, first of all, he looks drunk. Sir Alec Guinness is on record of saying Star Wars is stupid. He does not like Star Wars whatsoever. And in this scene, he looks so disheveled. His hair isn't combed. He kind of looks like he reeks of booze, not gonna lie. He kind of looks like he doesn't want to be there in that scene. And in that scene, they kind of retcon a few things and add in some lazy plot twists. So in that scene, first of all, Obi-Wan says that Leia is Luke's sister, which that emotional punch in Empire Strikes Back when we find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father is like, holy shit! But then in episode 6, when we find out Leia is Luke's sister, you're kind of like, ha! I mean, I guess. Fine. Is everyone gonna be fucking related now? What's next? Chewbacca is their son, and fucking C-3PO is the distant cousin, and R2-D2 is the fucking nephew? Like, are they all connected in this galaxy? It's a fucking vast galaxy. You'd think there'd be a couple more people from different families. But it's alright, whatever. Then there's that line that kind of became a joke, where he says,
"So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view."
Because there's that line in either A New Hope or Empire, I can't remember which one, where Obi-Wan says that Vader killed Luke's father. And then in Empire, they make it so that the father is actually Darth Vader. So all of a sudden, the screenwriter's like, oh, shit. So he just says, like, oh, what I was saying was true from a certain point of view. Kind of lazy screenwriting there. To be honest, I would have just cut that scene completely. Not a necessary scene. A little cringy. However, in Return of the Jedi has my favorite Star Wars character. My favorite Star Wars character is the Emperor. The Emperor is so fucking goofy, I love it. I love it when he's like, good! Like, I like every line delivery this guy does. It's so fucking funny, and his makeup is just so gross. I don't know, he's just such an over-the-top evil dude. This guy, like, he loves evil so much. He loves evil more than Dr. Evil. No, he likes evil so much, I just love him. The Emperor is the best character in all the Star Wars movies. I think my two favorites are Jabba and the Emperor. Those are my two favorite Star Wars characters. And they're both in episode 6. So, that's why I like this movie so much. It's a little fun when it comes to the cheese department. And not that the other Star Wars movies aren't cheesy. The original trilogy is a cheesy series of films. And they were meant to be cheesy because George Lucas, his influence for the original trilogy was old Flash Gordon serials. And those are cheesy. So it feels appropriate that the original Star Wars trilogy is cheesy in turn. Another scene of lazy screenwriting in this movie, there's like the scene where the Ewoks find the main characters for the first time and they're going to kidnap them, and they see C-3PO, and Han Solo's like, why don't you tell them that you're a god and we're your disciples or whatever? And he was like,
it's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
And I'm like, what the fuck, C-3PO? You're a dick. Just fucking do the white lie so your friends don't get cooked like a rotisserie chicken. But you have to have that scene where he says it's against my programming so they can go to the next location and meet up with Leia. Again, that's a scene where it's kind of lazy screenwriting. And I'm not the kind of person who pulls apart screenwriting and like plot holes and stuff like that. When I watch a movie, I'm more of like a sensory person. I kind of just go with the movie's flow, what the movie's trying to say, what the movie's making me feel. But in this movie, it stood out significantly to the point where I was like, okay, that's kind of stretching it. One more criticism before I get to the positives of the film. I find they absolutely nerfed Han Solo. And I'm sure I'm not the first guy to say that. A lot of people say he has nothing to do in this movie. I didn't have that problem. He takes down the shield. That's all he had to do. He at least did something. It wasn't as major as what he did in A New Hope, or it's not as major as him getting frozen in carbonite in Episode 5. But I did find that they nerfed him a bit too much. I don't think we see him shoot a stormtrooper even. The film is constantly him wrestling stormtroopers, slinging them across his back like he's in the fucking WWE. There's even that one part I find absolutely confusing is he taps the shoulder of one of the stormtroopers, then he like runs away like a little sissy girl, and then the stormtrooper follows him, and then people with guns actually point their guns at him, and it's like, come on, like, you can have Han Solo just shoot one of these motherfuckers. I get it, he's a scoundrel with a heart of gold at the end of the day, but I mean, come on, just fucking kill someone. You're Han Solo. But I like, obviously, Harrison Ford as Han Solo works so well. And especially in Episode 6, because you can tell Harrison Ford did not want to be in this movie. Harrison Ford, just like Alec Guinness, I'm pretty sure doesn't like Star Wars. And it kind of works in the same way as, like, Bill Murray doesn't want to be in any movie he wants to be in. And he's just so, like, grumpy that he doesn't even have to act. It just makes you laugh. Kind of the same thing with Harrison Ford in this movie. Like, his lack of trying adds to his character in some weird way. So, I kind of appreciated that. What I did absolutely like about this movie is that ending, alright? When I was a kid, this whole movie could have sucked, but because of that ending, where he goes to the throne room, and Luke is getting tempted by the Emperor, that's where the movie really wins it for people. And I feel like people who defend Return of the Jedi forgive the whole movie at the service of the ending of this movie. It's a fabulous ending, a lot of emotion, and when you look at the choreography of the sword fighting in the final battle, it's not pretty. It's not like slick, it's not like the Star Wars prequel where everyone's doing backflips and rolling over each other and it's nothing like that. But the Emperor is tempting Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker's combat style is becoming more aggressive. He's starting to become more angry, and as he becomes more angry, the Emperor is just like, good.
Your hate has made you powerful.
And that's why people like Star Wars Return of the Jedi. The middle part it sags. The beginning is quite fun, but the ending, it's like the cherry on top. And I like the part of Lando and the weird, people call him a Mexican stereotype, which George Lucas is no stranger to doing odd cultural stereotypes in his movies. But, yeah, I like this movie at the end of the day. It's overall a fun movie, okay? It's definitely the third best Star Wars movie. I don't think it's, like, The Force Awakens. Like, I wouldn't say it's that bad. Or I don't think it's, like, The Last Jedi. Like, the original trilogy is the top 3 of the Star Wars franchise, hands down. Everything else is basically a crapshoot from there. It was fun to revisit this movie. And you know what? It's fun to just talk about the movie on its own. Because usually when people talk about the original Star Wars trilogy on YouTube, they'll talk about all 3 of the movies lumped together. Kind of feels fun to just single one movie out, and that's what I did. I didn't even watch Emperor or New Hope. I just jumped straight to Return of the Jedi and see, how does this hold up? I will say, the one thing that the original trilogy does better, I'm going on a tangent here, and I'm talking about this movie compared to other Star Wars movies, but what the original trilogy does well, that I feel like the sequel trilogy is lacking, and the prequels were good at doing this too, is they introduce the audience to a bunch of different new environments. When I think of A New Hope, I think of the desert planet, I think of the Death Star. When I think of Empire Strikes Back, I think of the snow planet, I think of the swamp, the Dagobah system. When I see Return of the Jedi, I think of the forest, I think of the throne room, and even in the Star Wars prequels, as bad as they are, Episode 2, I think of the battle arena, I think of the droid factory, I think of the water planet, and Episode 3, I think of the lava planet. And one of the big mistakes I find that the sequel trilogy did is that they didn't introduce any new environments. The closest they've done to doing that is having the Salt Planet in Episode 8, which is a step in the right direction. It is a new environment, but it kind of just wasn't that memorable. Same thing with the Casino Planet in that movie. But the two J.J. Abrams movies don't even bother in creating new environments. So that's one thing that I appreciate watching the original trilogy, and especially this movie, because you get that beautiful forest planet, and it's a fun environment to play around in. So, do you guys love or hate Return of the Jedi? Kind of a mixed bag of a movie for some. I personally enjoy it. I see nothing wrong with it. Despite my few criticisms, look, you can take any of the original trilogy films and criticize them. Did you ever try listening to the dialogue in A New Hope? It's not sexy. It's not good dialogue. What people like about these three movies is the heart. The heart is radiating through these films. More so than the prequels, more so than the sequels. And I feel like that's also true to Return of the Jedi. So at the end of the day, I do like the movie, although I do acknowledge that it has more flaws compared to Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. Okay? That's my review. Guys, stay tuned on this channel. Petr Harmy. Great interview. Nice guy. I suggest you watch it.
The saga lives on. Return of the Jedi begins May 25th at a theater in your galaxy.